What's going on YouTube? It's JeffMan316, your pop culture reporter, coming to you with a movie review video. This is going to be my first movie review video of 2021. And in this video, I'm going to review the recently released Wonder Woman 1984. I was able to catch this at home on the HBO Max app over the Christmas holiday. I watched it and wanted to let it settle for a couple days before I posted this review. So this is going to be posted, like I said, right after the first of the year. I hope to do more review videos this year. I just started the channel in 2020. And so if you do me a favor, go ahead and like this video as you're watching it. Put any comments during it or wait to the end. Let me know what you think of the movie or what you think of this review. And then subscribe to the channel. Please consider doing that because I appreciate all the help I can get as I try to grow this channel in 2021. And after you subscribe, go ahead and hit the notification bell, because once you hit that, you'll know when I post more movie reviews. So let's go ahead and start the talk of Wonder Woman 1984. Were you hoping that this was going to be the epic, grand sequel that we all wanted from the first awesome movie? Do you wish that someone would give you an honest take on the film? Well, be careful what you wish for. So in Wonder Woman 1984, Gal Gadot returns as Diana Prince, aka her alter ego Wonder Woman, as she battles a power-hungry oil mogul named Maxwell Lord, who he tries to take over the world using the magic from a recently discovered ancient stone that they find out has magical powers and will grant each person that's in possession of it one wish. Well, while researching this, the origin of the stone, the FBI finds the stone and brings it into the museum where Diana works. Diana and one of her co-workers named Barbara Minerva study the stone, study the origins, and find out that they're in different societies, ancient civilizations, all the way up through present day. They find references to this stone, and they think that it can grant a wish to whoever's in possession of it. So each of the main characters throughout the story are in possession of this stone, and each one of them make their own personal wish. So one of the things you find out is that these wishes do come with an unknown price. So as we talk about it, I'll try to have just light spoilers of the story. There's a couple of things that I'm going to have to mention because I had some problems with, and I want to get your opinions of it. But let's go ahead and start the discussion of the film. Like I said, I'll have some light spoilers, but I'm definitely not going to spoil the ending of the movie. I think personally, if you watch the trailer, they show a lot of the movie in the trailer, like major plot points. And if you really follow the design of most of these heroic action hero movies, superhero movies, you're probably going to be able to piece together what happens in there. I know I was. There's things that I didn't know how they were going to tie up or actually make happen. But other than that, you'll probably be able to follow the main plot points if you watched one of the extended trailers. I'll go ahead and start by telling you I'm a big fan of DC. I love the first Wonder Woman. I like some of the choices that they made about creating like this Justice League. So I was really worried at first when they picked Ben Affleck, but after seeing him in the couple of movies that he portrayed Bruce Wayne and Batman, I was pleasantly surprised. I really hope that Zack Snyder does something to where he can extend that character and go deeper into it with the deal that he's got at HBO Max. Along with Batman, I really thought Henry Cavill does a great job as Superman in the couple films he's in. I can't wait to see if they change his story arc or do something different with the black suited Superman in the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League. I really liked the choice of Aquaman. I didn't really like the movie. I'm not a huge fan of the Aquaman character, and I thought the movie was like way too CGI heavy, but Jason Momoa is a good choice as Aquaman. And then I really think they did an awesome job picking Harley Quinn. Margot Robbie is a great version of that character, that classic comic book and now comic book and started in Batman the Animated Series character. But I think everybody will agree that Gal Gadot is hands down one of the best choices. I think the best choice they made for any of these characters in the DCU, if that's what you want to call it. She is so beautiful. She is so she's expanded the character so much throughout these stories, and I really think that she isn't given enough credit, because her acting has been pretty good in these last two movies. She has a quiet confidence about her, and I really like her as Wonder Woman. So with that being said, I was really anxious because I loved all the, the stories that have come before this, and I really liked the last one. I was really anxious to see. The one thing I will say before I get into my breakdown of the movie is I am a little disappointed in the amount of Wonder Woman in this movie. I would think it's probably 70% Diana Prince and her story, which is fine because we got so much Wonder Woman in the last one. But I would have really liked to seen a little bit more action and Wonder Woman in this movie. That's one of the reasons I'm not too upset about missing it in the theaters, because this movie to me doesn't have quite enough action in it, and we'll get into that when I talk about the good and the bad. So let's go ahead and break down my thoughts of the movie. I'm going to break them into multiple sections. I'm going to start with the good, and then we're going to go to the bad. And then if it's a movie that has something off the wall in it that I didn't like, I may have like a WTF moment. So that's going to be called the what the is this? I'll go ahead and tell you there's at least one thing in this that I will say that's a WTF moment. So with the good, like to lead into to what I had just previously said, the cast in this movie to me is really good. I think obviously, like I've said multiple times, Gal Gadot is an awesome choice to play Diana Prince and to play Wonder Woman. She's got that quiet confidence about her, but she can be, aggressive looking in one moment and then vulnerable looking in another. So it kind of reminds me of Linda Carter back in the day in the 70s. She was the perfect choice then. Gal Gadot is the perfect choice now. Chris Pine is really good as Steve Rogers. I heard somebody describe him as a poor man's Indiana Jones, and at first I didn't really know what to think of that, and then now that I've thought about it since watching the movie, it's kind of true. He's not an epic superhero. He's got weaknesses, but he means well. He kind of luckily falls into circumstances that end up working out for him. Sometimes luck has got to be on your side. So he's kind of a vulnerable character too, but yeah, I do agree with that. He's like a poor man's Indiana Jones. Pedro Pascal did a really excellent job as Maxwell Lord. He's very over the top, very bombastic, kind of like a Donald Trump. Like he's an oil mogul that in front of cameras and in front of everybody, he's real, like I said, bombastic, loud, in your face, acts like he's, the greatest thing under the sun. Behind the scenes, you kind of find out that he's not as successful as he lets on to be. He doesn't want anybody to know, even his own son, that he's not as successful as he really is. As he really says he is. I often wonder while I was watching this, were they trying to do something to say maybe this is kind of like a Donald Trump type character for real, where that he's in front of everybody, he brags about what a great man he is, but behind the scenes, he's nowhere near that. Maybe they were saying something about that. But the good thing about it is this is kind of a villain that worked in the 80s. That's a setting for this movie, but also would work today because of the type of villain that it is. So I like that choice. Kristen Wiig, I was worried about a little bit because I really do like her from Saturday Night Live. I really like her comedy, and I guess I know she's done some things that were drama, but nothing that I really thought stood out. So I was a little worried about that. She does a pretty good job. She's believable in the role of someone who starts out kind of like a nerd, a bookworm, studies a lot, works a lot, doesn't have any personal life. And then over time, because of her wish, changes into opposite. Now, I'm not going to get too deep into that, but obviously everybody knows from the trailers and the promotion of this what happens to her at the end, but I won't spoil how she gets there. If you want to think about it, it kind of reminds me of the story arc they gave Michelle Pfeiffer in Batman Returns. But with that being said, Kristen Wiig is no Michelle Pfeiffer. So to put a bow back around it, Gal Gadot is the shining star here. She looks like she's more comfortable in this role than ever before. She's really outstanding. She wears a lot of her emotions on her face in this. There's a couple of scenes where I think it actually lets her act in this one a lot more and not just be, kind of stoic as the hero. One of the other good things that they did was they found a way to tell like a moral or lesson at the beginning. And it was started with a race that Diana was running, when or an obstacle course type thing, when she was a small child. And she was racing against older teenage girls or young women. I'm not sure how old they were. But with that being said, something happens to her during the race, and instead of using her physical ability, she uses her intellect to try to solve a problem and end up getting ahead. Well, she ends up thinking she was going to win, and then she didn't because they stopped her. She kind of cheated. And so they tell her, don't take the easy way out. Don't cheat. You got to work for what you want. And that's the theme and the moral that runs through the whole course of all three characters. What happens to them, what lessons they learn, it all comes from that lesson there. So I really like that. The movie looks awesome. I think it would have looked great on the big screen, but there's a lot of closed-in settings, like inside of buildings and inside of the museum, inside of the mall setting, that I think it's really colorful. The color palette they chose is bright, got a lot of 80s, pastel colors in the clothing and everything. Total opposite of the last movie, which was like really kind of dingy, dirty. It was like, it's a vintage look because it was set, of the time period that it was set in during the war. So they did a really good job. One of the last things that I'll mention as far as a really good thing is the score. Hans Zimmer does an amazing job. I love the score that he established for Wonder Woman, her theme, like from Batman vs. Superman, when she first lands and saves Batman and Doomsday's heat vision hits her. When she hits the ground and that theme hit, you always connect those dots together, and I think he does a job of expanding that into this theme and weaving that theme in when necessary. But the score is really, I love movie scores, and he does a really good job with this one. Both of these movies, both of these Wonder Woman movies have great scores. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give you some of my bad. The first thing I just mentioned, it's 1984, right? So there's a scene in there, I want to say a battle, but it's really like a fight. She stops a jewelry heist at the beginning, and it's inside of a mall. Perfect setting for 1984, right? Well, after that one battle is over with, there's a couple running jokes about Steve's clothes and things that happen, but other than that, there's really nothing from the 1984 era to me that ties and puts nice, little bows around scenes. So you like say, oh, that's great. I remember that from the 80s. Oh, that was awesome. Like I was a child of the 80s. I wanted to feel more nostalgia. I didn't really feel a lot of 80s nostalgia, I guess is a good way to put it. A second thing I didn't like was, I know in superhero movies, they have to have what you call MacGuffins, where these things that don't really exist that they introduce that moves the story along. All of them have it. I don't like a lot of them. Like I hated the one that they brought into The Last Jedi. There's two in this one. I understand the first one, the stone, it didn't really exist in any of their other movies. They bring it into this one. I'm okay with that because it's got some mythos behind it. They actually try to build history around it. They put some threads through history of how it could have existed and how people might have known that it existed. So I'm fine with that one. There's a second one that's introduced at the end of this movie. And I'm not going to spoil it, but it has something to do with the communication device. It's something that didn't exist. They said they just invented it. It was almost like Maxwell Lord's character discovers it on the spot. Oh, magically, like right when he needed it. To me, it was a lazy writing. It was a way to put something that would set up the last act. It would make it happen easier. I just didn't like that extra MacGuffin that they put in there. One was enough, two's too many. So then one of the final things that I didn't like about the movie was the action sequences. They seem to be too few and far between. The movie's 2.5 hours. That's a problem right there already, just talking about that. I mean, I think it dragged out a little bit, especially that last act. They could have tightened it up a little bit. Maybe 2 hours and 5 or 10 minutes. 2 hours and a half is too long. All of these movies, superhero movies, don't need to be 2.5 hours. But with that being said, you got 2.5 hours. Where's my action sequences? Looking back at it, I remember the mall one, but that was over way too quick. There's another one that you've probably seen in the trailer where she's driving with Steve in this convoy, and they're trying to get to the start of the convoy. I'm not going to, you know, spoil too much about that. That's a big, you know, epic battle or fight scene, if you want to call it, car chase type of thing. That one's pretty big. You got a smaller one with them fighting in the White House. I think it's the White House. Then you've got another one at the end where she fights Cheetah. And then the one with Cheetah, to me, starts and ends like way too quick. So it makes me feel like there's more to this story, that they didn't tell everything. But if you're going to have 2.5 hours, there needs to be more epic battles. There needs to be broader scale, bigger battles in this, bigger fights, so that type of thing. That's one of the reasons that I didn't think that it was that big a deal watching at home. And I don't think I missed any epic moments that I would have, you know, been jaw-dropping moments that I would have had to see on a big screen at the theater. So that's all of my bad. I mean, it's not too bad, but there's a couple things that bother me. So here we go with the what the is this? So the WTF moment of the movie is, I'm going to have to spoil a little bit, but you already know, if you've seen the trailer, you know a little bit about this. Obviously, Steve Trevor returns. How they bring Steve back really bothers me. I'm going to have to spoil a little bit, like I said. So Diana's wish, obviously, is that Steve hadn't passed away in the plane explosion. So there's multiple moments in this movie that the stone is used to do magical things, make things appear that didn't exist, bring things back, take things away. Why couldn't you just do that with his character? Make it like he never died, or make it to where he was born at a certain time where he would have, you know, their timelines would have converged. They brought his spirit back, or soul, or whatever you want to call it, and put it in another man. When he looks in the mirror, he sees that other man. When we on the screen see it, we obviously see Chris Pine. She sees Chris Pine, but it's not really him, it's another man. They make mention of that a couple times in the movie. So what happened to that man's soul? What happens if he had been like a father of two? They conveniently wrote it to where I think he's a single bachelor guy. So nobody cares, gives a shit about this guy. Excuse me with my language. Excuse me. That's the way I felt. I was watching and go, what is with this? He wakes up beside her in another man's body. He obviously doesn't feel comfortable about it with the way that it wraps up, and I won't spoil that, but I had a really big problem with the way they brought him back. It's a stinking stupid hero movie, and none of this stuff can happen anyway. Figure out a better way to bring him back. That bothered me as soon as it happened for the rest of the movie, and I kept thinking about it. I kept going, how are they going to wrap this up? How are they going to fix this? How are they going to, a superhero movie can't kill somebody like that. So let me know what you guys think once you see that. Did that part bother you? So as Diana warns Barbara in the film, greatness is not what you think. And that's definitely not what I think after going back and thinking about Wonder Woman 1984. It's not great. It's good. Don't get me wrong. I like it. But there's a lot of superhero movies that are better. I think some of the choices that they made pulled me too far out of the picture to keep invested and keep me interested. Not enough epic moments to where I would overlook that. I was thinking about, as they were having exposition moments, I was thinking about some of that stuff. Maybe on a second watch I'll feel better about it. Not sure. But so on my movie rankings, I'm going to do where these things are on the worst end, they're hot garbage. It's not hot garbage, don't worry about that. But on the other end, it's either fire or it's lit. It's not that either. And it's definitely not a movie where I would just say, don't worry about it. I'm just going to say this movie is okay. I'm going to give it a thumbs up. I think you should watch it. And I think you should watch for those moments that I said that I had a problem with and see how they bother you. Maybe they won't bother you as much. Maybe you'll enjoy it more than I did. But like I said, I think it's enjoyable and it's going to be worth a second watch. Don't know if I'll watch it before it ends on HBO Max. I'll probably buy this in 4K so I can watch it at my leisure, watch parts of it, go back. That's what I kind of like to do with movies like this, where I'm kind of on the fence about. But I think it's worth your time, and I would like to know what other people think about it. So with that being said, go ahead and drop some comments below. Hit the like button on this video if you liked my review of Wonder Woman 1984. go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell, because when I post more of these review videos in the future, you'll be the first to know. So this is, like I said, probably my first review that's going to post on 2021. And so I hope everybody had a great new year, and I hope we all have a better 2021 than we had in 2020. It couldn't have been worse. I would have really loved to have seen this at the theater. Maybe I'd have thought a little better about the film if I'd seen it on the big screen. But with that being said, this is JeffMan316, your pop culture reporter, signing out, saying, you guys be safe out there.